Jeremy from The Quartering joins me in just a moment. You can follow him on X, The Quartering, also on X, Coffee Brand Company. He's got a coffee brand. Rumble's The Quartering, YouTube is The Quartering, and coffeebrandcoffee.com. And then we'll be joined by Apollo Pappas. You can follow him on X, Apollo Pappas, just like it sounds. And tinapeters.us, where he has taken over her hosting privileges, let's say. Jeremy's got a lot on a lot. In the aftermath of Charlie Kirk, he too has been, let's say, in the crosshairs of some concerns. And the attraction of violence from left to right seems to be in full throttle right now. We'll talk about that and more right after this. Our laws as it pertains to substances are draconian and bizarre. The psychopaths start this way. He was an alcoholic because of social media and pornography, PTSD, love addiction, fentanyl and heroin. Ridiculous. I'm a doctor, for sake. Where the hell do you think I learned that? I'm just saying, you go to treatment before you kill people. I am a clinician. I observe things about these chemicals. Let's just deal with what's real. We used to get these calls on Loveline all the time. Educate adolescents and to prevent and to treat. If you have trouble you can't stop and you want help stop it, I can help. I got a lot to say. I got a lot more to say. Paleo Valley is always innovating, bringing you new products to market, of course, using doctor.com/Paleo Valley. You will get 15% off your first order and 20% off when you subscribe. And of course, one of the first things I promoted and consumed quite a bit of when the company joined our family of sponsors was the grass-fed and finished beef sticks. And that remains a fan favorite and a personal favorite as well, particularly the classic and the summer sausage. These delicious, chewy sticks have higher levels of omega-3 fatty acid than conventional beef. They're naturally fermented and contain 0 grams of sugar, 0 artificial preservatives, 0 gluten, 0 soy or corn. I eat them sometimes before a show or after show, between meal breaks. Certainly when I travel, I bring them everywhere. Use it before a workout so I don't get super hungry. All the protein stick varieties are superior to your typical jerky. Paleo Valley is a wonderful small business that promotes healthful eating and supports this show. Get 15% off your first order with drdrew.com/Paleo Valley. As I said, Jeremy at The Quartering, all the relevant spots to find him: Rumble, The Quartering, X, The Quartering. Jeremy, welcome to the program.
Hey, thank you for having me. Really glad to be here tonight on this rainy Midwestern Wednesday, and happy to spend my evening with you and your viewers.
And Caleb, we've had so much experience with inclement weather in the South where Caleb is. I think it is glitching Jeremy's internet.
I lowered his quality down a little.
I could hear you. Okay, I could hear you very well, but I couldn't see you very well, which happens when the weather gets bad. So
I understand. We deal with that here too. I live kind of in an internet wasteland. I don't live in LA or any of these other fancy cities where they have crazy good internet. And I live out in a farm field in the middle of nowhere. So it might be my end.
So to be fair, we live in the wastelands, just so you're clear. We have internet, but we live in a wasteland. So that's just to be clear. So tell me about what is your take on what's going on here? Here we have, I noticed that I've stopped hearing the refrain that right nationalists, white supremacists are the greatest threat to American safety and domestic violence. All of a sudden, it's so exquisitely clear that the violence is going one direction. I do hear craziness as it pertains to that violence, like sort of quasi-weird cognitive dissonance trying to justify completely unjustifiable violence. What's your take?
Yeah, I mean, I think anybody who's been covering this or reporting on it like you have for some time kind of knew that there was this weird, you keep saying these things, but I keep not seeing these things. I remember I almost liken it in early COVID where they were like, I watched the news and I was expecting bodies to be stacked up like cordwood outside. And I walked outside and like people were mowing their lawns. This was similar with a lot of the the vast majority of attacks are happening from right wingers. That wasn't what most people were seeing. And right now, I think there's this desperate attempt to put the toothpaste back in the tube as if to say, well, Yeah, sure. This one person and this other one person, this other. When you have 25 isolated incidents in 6 months, it's not so isolated anymore. And I'm not sure that the mainstream media or those covering for them know what to do. Like we saw Jimmy Kimmel. Antifa's just an idea. Like he said that on Disney's airwaves. And then you just open up X or anywhere else. And you're like, wait, what's going on in Portland? This doesn't look like just an idea.
So we've got a picture up next to you of a guy that was arrested for extortion, anti-Semitic death threats. Were you one of the people that guy went after?
No, because I've kind of stayed out of it's such a, and I will say that X is in a really bad spot right now. And if you use it in any kind of regular capacity, you see that there's just so much anger and the rhetoric keeps getting ratcheted up. For lack of a better term, I have basically said, I'm America first, and I don't really have a lot to say about other foreign countries. But this conversation around, Israel's influence on the United States has gotten really, really emotional. And this idea of, this individual, over the years, certainly I've gotten lots of people who have sent me wild threats, and it was kind of something I always ignored. I'm sure you have too. But now it's become normalized. And I, for one, am happy that left wing, right wing, or no wing, that we should be taking this stuff seriously. It's a lot like, for example, me and many of my peers have been swatted many times. And the guy that swatted me got somewhere, I think he got 10 years in prison, but that was only after, my wife got dragged out of bed in the middle of the night and handcuffed and, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I do think that there should be some level of consequence here. I do hope that we also see it happen to left-wingers, where we see numerous examples of vile things, direct threats. I mean, you can open up Blue Sky and find them. I think that I don't know that we can turn the temperature down, but I think that socially there needs to be some more actual consequence to this stuff, because the more you allow people to say stuff, the more it gets normalized, the more that one crazy person is going to act on it. And we've seen enough of that now where we know, and somebody in chat pointed out about bots. Without talking too much out of turn here, I think a lot of this is fueled by bot networks, a lot of this division, and it is scary to me just how this guy, he ruined his life. He ruined his life over this. He's going to have a federal, maybe he doesn't go to prison forever, but he's going to have a federal crime on his record. Why? So he could send some anonymous threats online. I mean, it was a huge mistake.
Yeah, and there's a quality to it where there is this dehumanizing, cartoon character making, justifying quality where it becomes reasonable to take action. Hitler, fascist is sort of the extreme example of that. Caleb, you, in addition to this post, you had another post up I could not read next to Jeremy. What was that one you were putting up, and why did you put that up there? It was a longer one. It's like a full page.
Oh, there's a bunch of them.
Page.
There's
what
the Attorney General one, or
this one?
Yeah, what are we looking at here?
This is Seth Dillon. He's quote tweeting a post, and he's saying, like, as he was writing this very op-ed, a different man was being arrested for threatening to kill him.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
I just say, I think that's the same guy, but I could be wrong. I know that this guy did threaten Seth Dillon and Laura Loomer. And look, I mean, I think, we've become great friends now in just a few minutes. I think I can speak frankly. People's emotions around this particular topic are very, very, very high. And I live in the Midwest. I have Jewish friends. We don't talk about Jew stuff. We talk about the sports team. I am very taken aback by how intense, it's like getting dropped in the ultimate deep end, where I'm like, hey, why is everybody, what's going on here? And then people's emotions are so high that it's difficult to understand how we got here and how we got here so quickly. At least for me, it feels like, well, what's going on? Oh, what's going on? Oh, okay. Well, this is serious. We have people ruining their lives over social media posts. And I know I've been rambling, but I will say, I think that the enemy, whoever you say it is, right, whether it's demonic forces, if you're religious, or it's this country, that they win when like people ruin their lives over this stuff. And I just, this guy may have had legitimate criticisms of foreign policy, but now he's going to have a federal offense on his record. He's going to have a hard time getting a job in real life. He's, and for what? Like, because he got whipped up by who knows what out there. So you hate to see it. He might have had something valuable to say, but now, he's a federal offender, and whatever he might have to say is thrown by the wind.
See, social evil is always done in the name of good. And so I'm sure he had justified in his own mind how much good he was doing. And whoever whipped him into that frenzy, I look forward to a day when we hold them accountable. I don't know how we do that, but the media and the lying and the excessive rhetoric that dehumanizes people, I don't know. Walter Cronkite didn't do that. I think our journalists need to refrain.
I think that's a really valid and smart point, because we've seen this before with COVID. We've seen this before with Trump supporters. We've seen this before with, the first step is to dehumanize. And then once you dehumanize somebody, now whatever actions look, the Nazis did it, right? Like once you unperson somebody, now it creates a whole much easier path. I'm not threatening to destroy my neighbor. I'm fighting evil. And
exactly.
You've seen that play out real time.
That's it. It's exactly. And I keep in this conversation already. I've been thinking of reflecting about COVID, and my whole entire family got death threats because guess what? Here's what the refrain was then. If you were not totally on board with every line and verse of the bullshit the government and the public health policies were pouring out, you were a murderer. You wanted to kill people. You were a sick person interested in killing people, not a physician who was saying, hey, there's a risk-reward analysis here. We need to step back and consider what we might be doing to people. And now we've harmed an entire generation. God knows what we did with the vaccine mandates. And Caleb, I'm going to go back and find all that stuff. Who was the guy that somebody was working on this with us? And really, maybe it's time for people are starting to take legal action against this stuff, and I think it's totally justified.
I think that's really going to happen. And the drug companies were completely protected under this nonsense emergency authorization. And I'm no expert. I'm certainly not a doctor, but I do kind of suss out BS for a living. And I'm not, again, like, you just kind of knew when people are like, oh, well, you're anti this or anti that. When you just try to have a little bit of nuance, and back then it was, you're killing grandma. You're gonna kill all the other. My parents were in their 70s. They got the vaccine. They did a risk reward analysis. My dad had COPD. He had other comorbidities. He took it.
Reasonable, particularly during, and again, we had a different illness flying around at the beginning. We had Alpha and Delta, different illness than Omicron, different illness. Then very much worth it, a reasonable thing to do. With Omicron, not so clear, and then as time's gone on, even less clear. So okay, good. But speaking of sussing out bullshit, let's talk about Gavin Newsom. Okay, I think
that's the source. You've hit the epicenter.
The source of all bullshit. But did I see him going on? Was it him that was railing on the Trump renovations? I mean, the White House has gone through periods of renovations forever. Abraham Lincoln's wife got in real trouble for being a spendthrift when it came to those renovations and the place settings and the whatever in the White House. That was before he started winning the Civil War, that was a major problem for him. And because it was taxpayer dollars that was paying for that, now we have a guy bringing his own money in and doing it for us. Why is that upsetting to anyone?
It's the craziest. What's been wild to me is I've always basically been an independent. I mean, look, much to many of my viewers' chagrin, I voted for Obama twice. I voted for Trump. I voted third party. I am not like hardcore in any one particular, but I feel like I remember Obama put in a basketball court. And I feel like I remember basically every president. And I think what it's really indicative of is that there's not a lot of angles of attack for Trump right now. I mean, the markets are doing good if you invest. Prices are coming down. Groceries still need to come down. And meat, why are we buying Argentina meat? Anyway, but meat is an issue. But like,
That's
there's, what is the angle of attack on Trump? Remember when they said his tariffs were going to, his tariffs are going to destroy America? Well, that didn't work.
Destroy us.
Yeah, they were. I'm still waiting. The government shutdown any minute now. Everything's all this stuff, and so they're like, well, the symbolic. Think about the symbolicness of this. What, he's upgrading a 200-year-old wing, and then they basically said also that it was safer to kind of demolish that section than try to renovate it. Which I understand why people want to do that for historic reasons. If you ever owned a home and like it has historical whatever, you have to go through all sorts of nonsense when you want to restore it. Yeah. It is really, I think, to keep it somewhat short, really indicative of just how little the left has right now to go after Trump. And he'll give them something for sure. But this, the more they like moralize over him putting in and it's going to look great when it's done. It's going to look great. We didn't pay for it. Every president after him is going to get to use it for whatever they want. It's not the Trump wing. Go ahead.
It will be. He'll call it that or something. Who knows?
He will, yeah.
But this is where this is for me. He always goes off the rail with this stuff. But okay, whatever. It doesn't bother me. That's why I keep wondering. You're moderate. You're sort of an independent, like I am. You're a little different on the independent scale than I am, but we're both independent. And I find it odd. You tell me something. And if you experience this, and if you wonder about yourself in relation to this experience, he says things that are clearly like off the plantation,
right?
Sometimes. And I just laugh at it. I go, "Oh, that's him being him," whatever. It doesn't bother me at all, but it makes people crazy. And sometimes I wonder if he's doing that intentionally. But first of all, I wonder what's wrong with me that I don't get crazy, and secondly, I wonder if he is doing it intentionally.
Well, for the first term,
what he said,
nailed it. That's how. I think here's what I'll say about Trump, and I've always been honest about him. I voted for him because, he was the better of two horrible options. But anyway, or three really. But look, you're going to get a lot of good with Trump, but you're going to get a lot of craziness. Just like I remember being really mad when he's like, I'm the no war president. And he was president for like a week. And then he sent missiles into Syria his first term. And I'm like, what happened to no more foreign wars? So I think I've been a little bit hardened by his insanity. A lot of it was covered up. This is fourth dimensional chess. I don't think Trump's playing fourth dimensional chess. I just think he's just unapologetically him. Sometimes he's going to go do or say some things that are hilarious. Sometimes he's going to do or say something that makes no sense whatsoever. Like, I'm going to consider pardoning Ghislaine Maxwell. I was like, what? What are you doing? And then he's just a wild card. I don't think he had a.
What do you think of the meme dropping shit on people's heads? Any thoughts about that one?
Look,
no, me neither. I didn't either. So it's like it's not out of character for him.
Yeah, this is Trump literally shit posting. This is what he does. Do I think that Trump manages his truth? No, of course not. I'm sure someone's like, "Hey, Mr. Trump, should we post this?" I think it's hilarious. I think anybody looking at that, again, whoever is advising him on social media, go all the way back to Coffee. Do you remember that? He mistyped coffee, and it became an international incident. And it's like, you guys understand, if I were advising the left, I'm like, you guys understand that whether or not he did this on purpose, he now owns your news channel for the next 72 hours. He can go do whatever he wants. Yeah. And you guys are too busy talking about a typo. And that I think that's when kind of Trump's doing fourth dimensional chess. I'm like, no, he wasn't. He was tweeting that from the toilet. Like, he was a typo.
Speaking of coffee, speaking of Kofifi, give us a minute on your coffee company.
Oh, thank you. Well, the reason I started Coffee Brand Coffee was because I literally called it that because so many coffee brands were getting political. I know it is inexorably tied to me, but
I thought you were going to call it. You should have called it Kofifi.
Well, you know, it's funny. There was a coffee brand that launched as Kofifi, and I was like, boy, I hope they make all their money in 3 weeks because no one's going to remember that. Although now here I am mentioning it years later. But yeah, I started this because, you know, you've known this because when you speak out against stuff, you can't always count on making ad revenue on YouTube or traditional sources.
Yeah.
So I started this, and I decided I didn't want to do like drop ship garbage like everyone else does. No shade, but like a lot of people just stick their name on it. So we got everything figured out, how to roast it, how to ship it, how to sell it. So hopefully,
nice.
It will outlast my business. So we're on Amazon now. We're trying to get into grocery stores. So it's been fun. I know everyone kind of does their coffee, but I'm hoping it'll last. That's why my face isn't on it. That's why I don't have liberal tears coffee. I don't care. Michael Jordan famously said, Republicans buy sneakers too, right? I don't care who buys my coffee. I want them to buy it because it's great. I don't want liberal tears coffee. I don't want any of that stuff. I just want to try to do a good product. And that's why I started. So thanks for bringing that up. You didn't have to do that. I appreciate it.
Well, I look forward to trying it. I've not tried it yet. But back to Trump and his off the plantation comments. He said something very clearly that I don't think we have ever heard from the White House. And I would say,
oh boy,
I don't think I've ever heard from a politician. And that is calling out JFK for his bullshit in what is now the press pool. Pool, what he was describing, when you see Carolyn Levitt at the podium, she is looking out at a bunch of reporters that are on plywood over a pool, a swimming pool. And that swimming pool is the pool where JFK used to do his shenanigans, really serious, like exploitative bullshit to women shenanigans. And Trump was like, I think that's where that happened. Like, did anybody know that, Jackie O, he did it third hand. He described Jackie O's experience of hearing women being taken advantage of in the press pool. But go ahead. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, I mean, I think it's great. This is, again, there's an episode of, there's a show called It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I promise it'll be short. There's one point where they get the bright idea.
You can talk about, those guys are all my friends, so you can talk about Sunny as long as you want. And it's my son's favorite show. So
there's an episode where they get this bright idea to buy gasoline, and they're driving around and they have like 50-gallon buckets of gasoline, and they're like, hey, what's your role? I'm the sales guy. What's your guy? And then like Charlie, kind of the goofball of the group's like, you're the wild card. And like his thing's like, he like lights his lighter next to a thing of gas, like wild card. That's how I view Trump. You don't know what's going to come out of his mouth. And the guy has no filter for better or worse. And I've learned that, like, especially now in his his last term, not his third term, but his second term as president, I don't think he is as loyal as most people think. The guy, for better or worse, again, he's narcissistic. He is, self-absorbed. The whole like Trump thing, look at all the gold. This is who he is. He obsesses over like nobody's criticizing him. But this is who he was in 2016. This is who he is in 2025. You get what you get with him. I love that he called that out because JFK was go ahead.
Yeah. Well, to finish your comment on JFK, then I want to talk about what makes a good president, because this is mysterious to me. But first talk about JFK being a sacred, privileged sort of myth that we're not allowed to touch.
Right. Well, I think, probably because of, how the road ended for him may have kind of prevented people from really looking into some of the decisions that were made and the things that were done. But this guy was not a good husband. He was not a good man. Sure, he was handsome, charismatic. But I think that Trump he will often call out people's sacred cows. Look, people talk about Trump. I mean, he's Operation Warp Speed. Let's not forget that. Like Trump, he just does kind of what he wants, and he goes 100% of the way. And, with JFK, same thing, he doesn't really care.
So let's be clear about JFK. I'm just still staying with the Sunny cast, because I remember I did a add-on for one of their, they used to put out these cassette series or DVD series And me and Danny DeVito, and I think it was Rob, sat and just did commentary on.
There's the gas
Sunday
episode.
for like 3 hours. It was the most, it was the greatest experience I've ever had. So these are all, I don't know Charlie very well, but Glenn is like a good friend. And so these are all people I know very well. But where was I going with this? Why did I bring this all up? JFK, just so you know, was an opiate addict. He had a doctor giving him parenteral opiates regularly. That's why his adrenal glands shut down. He didn't have Addison's disease. He had opiate-induced adrenal insufficiency. Then that same doctor gave him.
I didn't know that.
Intramuscular. Nobody taught. I know it because I deal with this shit so much. Same doctor gave him parenteral IM, intramuscular amphetamine. He developed an amphetamine psychosis. And literally, read about it. It's well documented. And literally,
this is blowing my
clothing
mind.
off was doing cartwheels down a hotel hallway until actually a real psychiatrist came in and set the medication straight. I was like, but you cannot have this supplier see you anymore, Mr. President.
Yeah.
We actually did a drunk history on this. It is so well established that if you look at the drunk history on it is absolutely accurate. He had chronic opiate use with addiction, in my humble opinion, adrenal insufficiency from that, and then amphetamine psychosis. Imagine if the amphetamine psychosis had occurred during the Cuban Missile Crisis. I mean, it's just shuddering to think.
Well, and imagine if it had occurred in modern day media where like these guys are in front of a camera, everything is captured. You know, if he's doing nude cartwheels down in a hotel, that video would have been on the internet. Like that would have been, somebody would have came out. That would have been a major issue. And there's a lot of people, I happen to think, I mean, what is the word megalomania? I happen to think anybody who runs for president is probably, they've got issues. And
that's the question. What makes a good president? I mean, Trump to me seems closest to Teddy Roosevelt, and Teddy Roosevelt did some great stuff. And, Abraham Lincoln had serious mental illness, very, MI, life-threatening depression. And then there's all this communication with, we're going to take a break after I state these things, but all this communication between Lincoln and his doctor in Springfield who put him on mercury because he became obsessed that he had syphilis, and the mercury causes worsening depression.
Mercury
and there's
poisoning.
all these stories of all these depression episodes. He was on for at least 2 to 3 years in his presidency. So there's craziness, generation by generation, and yet some of the people that were impaired function not just well as presidents, were some of our most important presidents. So think about during the break, Teddy Roosevelt was hypomanic and he was narcissistic. And so think about it during the break, what makes a good president? And I'm going to give you a chance to ring in on that. And it may be, who knows, given this, it may be the vagaries of the historical moment and hard to ever know. It's magic in some way. And the sort of the wisdom of the crowd puts the right person in at the right time. We'll talk about it after this. I've spent most of my career dealing with illnesses that shorten life, and now we have ways to extend it and extend wellness. I've been working with the team over at V-Shred to develop a product that has everything I want in a longevity supplement. NR Boost has nicotinamide riboside. You know how metal can rust? Well, your body behaves in a similar way. It's mediated through something called NAD. NAD falls as we age, so we're less able to fight off that oxidative process. We oxidize much like that metal. And NAD fights it, but nicotinamide riboside elevates NAD so we can push back on those oxidative stressors, improving health, improving longevity. The other product is Senosync, has fisetin, one of the key molecules to fight off zombie cells, and we've added resveratrol to that, which is a well-known anti-aging antioxidant again. I don't like supplements that have a ton of ingredients. To me, it suggests that none of it's working. When I prescribe a medication, I prescribe that medicine because I expect that to work. That is exactly what I've done with these products. And I want you to go to drdrew.com/vshredmd for 10% off. Again, that is drdrew.com/vshredmd. The wellness company knows that taking charge of your family's healthcare is a top priority, and being rationally ready, and who knows what the future will hold for us, Now, TWC has a service to cover your family's medical needs, including and especially prevention. For just $100 a month, the One Wellness Elite membership includes 2 free medical-grade nutraceuticals per month, free prescriptions for over 800 of the most common medications, access to concierge telemedicine, available at a moment's notice, and a 15% discount on all supplements and the emergency kits. 15% off the emergency kits. That's quite a saving. So if you're spending $100 or more on supplements and meds every month, this plan will already save you money. If you sign up for a year, you'll save $200. And when you use the link, drdrew.com/TWC, you'll get 10% off the first payment to the One Wellness Elite membership. Check out One Wellness at drdrew.com/TWC and get 10% off your first payment. drdrew.com/TWC. It's all there. I'm excited to bring you a new product, a new supplement, Fatty. I take it. I make Susan take it. My whole family takes it. This comes out of, believe it or not, dolphin research. The Navy maintains a fleet of dolphins, and a brilliant veterinarian recognized that these dolphins sometimes developed a syndrome identical to our Alzheimer's disease. Those dolphins were deficient in a particular fatty acid. She replaced the fatty acid, and they didn't get the Alzheimer's. Humans have the same issue, and we are more deficient in this particular fatty acid than ever before. And a simple replacement of this fatty acid called C15 will help us prevent these syndromes. It's published in a recent journal called Metabolites. It's a new nutritional C15, pentadecanoic acid, it's called. The deficiency that we are developing for C15 creates something called the cellular fragility syndrome. This is the first nutritional deficiency syndrome to be discovered in 75 years and may be affecting us in many ways, and as many as 1 in 3 of us. This is an important breakthrough. Take advantage of it. Go to fatty15.com/Dr. Drew to receive 15% off a 90-day starter kit subscription, or use code Dr. Drew at checkout for that 15% off, or just go to our website, drdrew.com/fatty15.
Dr. Drew said the best way to quit drinking is by going cold turkey, and he's a doctor, so why would you question doctors?
Dr. Drew called me unfixable.
And we are back with Jeremy from The Quartering. You can find him on X and also YouTube and Rumble. And Jeremy, before the break, we were talking about what makes a good president, if that's even a reasonable question. And we're going to segue from that to vice president. But what are your thoughts?
Well, I did take that break to think about it, and I'll try to keep it short. I feel like I might be talking too much, but I would say that obviously the vogue answer would be like to be a unifier or whatever. Okay. I think most presidents are remembered by the 2 or 3 moments during their presidency and how they reacted to them. And I think when you look back, any president, 4 years, 8 years, there's going to be a few key moments, and it's going to be how well you dealt with adversity, just like in the workplace or just like in life in general. I think, yeah, it's easy when you're Bill Clinton and you're giving everyone a mortgage and everyone's happy, but it's how you deal with the tough times that really determines whether or not I think you can be determined a good leader. Anyone can lead when things are good, but when things are bad, that's what I think most people remember. If that makes sense. I couldn't tell you if there was ever a good president or not.
Good.
But
I like that. I like it because it's sort of an acid test or an historical moment. And in a weird way, you almost can't predict a priori who's going to be good. There are some maybe qualities you like or you think are going to be good, but it's when they're actually tested that you find out, was this good or bad for this moment of history? It's really interesting. Somebody should do a study on the ones that failed, because you don't remember those.
Yeah,
I think anyway.
Yeah, look at this. Oh, here, let me tell you, example everyone will remember. Pretty much everyone remembers our withdrawal from Afghanistan, right? How'd that go? There's a couple of moments from every presidency, and how did they shake out will be how you remembered.
Yeah, and George Bush is remembered for the weapons of mass destruction, which was
all right, and mission accomplished.
Right, exactly. So So, and Caleb, do you have the Theo Vaughn tape with JD Vance laughing with him about cocaine?
Oh, yeah, I have that one.
And JD Vance, do we want to play that whole thing or just
I took
Jeremy
a clip.
and I just talk about it?
Made like a 30-second clip
we'll
of it.
take a clip of this because let's remind ourselves that JD Vance, I believe this to be true, is a recovering addict. Am I getting that correct? There's certainly been drug use.
His mother was an addict. His mother was an addict.
Didn't he have some run for a minute or so? Is that Caleb? Am I not getting the history
I'll
correct?
look it up. I'm not sure. I know about his mother. I'm not
he does
sure.
not strike me as, let's put it this way, I never hear him talking the language of recovering addiction. So if he did have a run with a substance, it was probably because he was just around it and just, his mom was an addict.
Probably, yeah.
So let's see.
You can't even do cocaine in this country anymore, And that seems like a crazy thing to say. And don't say that. Don't say that. But I said it. But yeah. But don't say that anymore. The last one I went to, some dude selling a fucking boat at one of them.
Exactly.
And we're like, you can't, dude. We're trying to get off of drugs, dude. And some guy started bidding on the boat. I'm like, and they had made him take it outside. Yeah, because it's outside issues or whatever. Dude, I was in a meeting. Some guy had a fish hook stuck in his freaking cheek, dude.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Dude, yeah.
Man.
But he had 2 weeks clean.
Yeah. He'd either had a really bad night or a really good night. Maybe both. Jesus.
Yeah, who knows what happened. God dang, it's just like, all right, dude. Catch and release, brother. Catch and release.
I would argue that's very funny, but I would argue that that's the quality that the Democrats keep looking for and send Gavin Newsom out doing exactly the opposite, which is just being a person around a comedian or a podcast host. But I don't see any evidence of substance stuff there. But good vice president. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think shout out to the chat for sharing. I think that he had made comments about addiction and that he had been prescribed some pain pills and he had realized, wow, these are amazing, and I don't like that, how slippery that slope is. I think, with any good, what makes a good vice president is that they are just like any good CEO, you have to staff your weaknesses. And JD Vance is very authentic and Trump is not.
Yeah.
Trump is larger than life. I mean, like, and again, like
interesting.
Hardcore, like Trumpers like, but like, it's true. He's not like, he knows how to get authentic and talk to people, but JD comes across as a guy that like has been through some stuff because he actually has. I mean, people know who have seen that the movie Hillbilly, Hillbilly,
Elegy.
I forget what Elegy, yeah.
Elegy.
Very relatable. You made such a great point about how Democrats have been trying to manufacture this. Let me bring up a great example. Kamala Harris and her Doritos or Hillary Clinton or hot sauce. Two of the most ridiculous things ever. When Trump's like, I eat McDonald's, I look at Trump and I'm like, that dude does eat McDonald's. You know what I mean? Like his order came out, right? His order came out as like news, his famous order. Donald Trump doesn't order off the McDonald's menu. He orders off the secret menu. I think his burger is a McGangbang. I think people, pardon my language, but that's what it's like a filet of fish and two, like that dude eats McDonald's. There's nobody in the world that doesn't believe Donald Trump eats McDonald's. I don't know why Democrats just like, why did Kamala Harris have to be like, I love my Doritos. No one in the world calls them Doritos. And she's like, I love my Doritos, or I might carry my hot sauce. When JD talks about stuff, it's very clearly coming from a position of experience and authenticity. I know some people don't love him for the next candidate, but what I will say is he's everything Trump isn't. He's more like down to earth. He's more, even if you watch his X profile or remember his debate, Dr. Drew, his debate with Tim Walz? He destroyed him. What? How? By looking at the camera. Like he looked at the camera with his like, can you believe this guy? And like it turned into a meme sensation. And so I think he's a great vice president. He softens Trump a little bit. He humanizes Trump. And maybe that's what they thought Joe Biden did for Obama. I don't know. But I think JD is a great vice president. And I think, and they should lighten your load too, right? Trump's 100 years old. Yeah. JD Vance should be doing the heavy lifting. That's what the vice president's for. You bring in the big guns for the Israel-Palestine peace deal.
Yeah.
Bring in Trump for that. Let JD Vance handle the union strikes and all this other kind of stuff.
And
Theo Vaughn, which, by the way, I think that podcast, Theo Vaughn and Trump was okay, but Theo Vaughn and JD was actually a riot. Like, it was hilarious. And JD Vance is a big reason why Trump won in 2024. There's no denying that, whether you like him or not.
Well, he has the credentials for sure, JD Vance, and he seems like a legitimate guy. And now he seems more real to me, seeing him with Theo. There's one. This is me personally. There's one very unfortunate reaction I have.
Are you worried about his rapid weight loss?
The South Park character, boss.
You know what though? It's funny.
I can't help it. It's very unfortunate. It doesn't help him, but I keep seeing that.
It is funny. He's a tattoo. Or what is it? Who's his actual character? Tattoo. Yeah. I know. Right. I can't think of his name, but yeah, South Park. I mean, look, I think South Park can be very funny. I think memeing on Trump is hilarious. Trump is very memeable. This is undeniable. He says crazy stuff.
Yeah.
He's a bombastic guy. Yeah. He's goofy looking. His hair is hilarious. There's lots of material there. Yeah. JD on there, I thought South Park, their kind of takedown was funny. I just wish they had something else. Trump's overweight and has a small wing. Ha 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 ha. Like, give me. They use fat JD too.
I agree with you.
Like, give me skinny JD. Well, you know what? Here, look at this. I know we got to go, but this is what I have on my set. I have like a 3D printed, like fat. The JD Vance memes are like, they're
fantastic.
Like this. As long as he embraces the meme, he just doesn't keep embracing. Like when he's in like Vegas doing his like dance stuff. And they had the UK had those big fat JD Vance like balls. You know how many people want to buy those, Dr. Drew? Like, I would pay $1,000 for one of those. Like, and I just have it at my house, and people just embrace it, and that's what makes him very effective in his role. And I know that we're out of time, but I want to thank you so much. You've been a part of my life for many, many years, like many people, and I have the utmost respect for you for speaking truth to power and using your platform to share truth and to fight against a lot of the propaganda out there at any cost. So I'm so thankful for being here.
It's very kind, very, very kind. Freedom all of a sudden became this essential fight. And speaking, what I believe to be true and questioning things seems to become a thing. And so I just kept doing it. And there's an ensconced elite that I did not realize was so tightly bound into our bureaucratic federal government that is destroying us, is really a problem. And
it supersedes party, doesn't it?
Keep talking.
Once you realize that. Yeah, it's not even a Democrat or Republican thing. It's
not at all.
Yeah, I appreciate you so much.
Well, thank you, my friend. And thank you for the quartering. We're all fans here. And we will see you there. And good luck with the coffee.
Thanks so much. You have a great rest of your show.
All right. Yes, sir. Thank you. All right. We're going to switch gears a little bit. And we're going to talk to Apollo Pappas. He can be found on X with that name. Also, tinapeters.us. You'll hear why that is the case. Apollo, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me, sir?
There you are. I hear you, but I do not see you yet. Kayla, there we go. There you are. There you are with the beautiful American flag behind you. So tell us, we interviewed, oh goodness, I'm going to blank on Christina Bobb, and she mentioned Tina Peters, or she wanted to talk about Tina Peters, and we did not have a chance to with her, but she sent us to you as a representative of Tina's and now taking over the mic on her behalf. So tell us the whole story if you can.
Sure. Well, I'll do my best. There's a lot to Tina Peters' story, as I'm sure anyone who's tried to really figure it out has probably understood very quickly. In terms of speaking for Tina, I have been asked by Tina simply to keep her show alive. The show is called The Truth Matters, and it's one of Tina's catchphrases and something that I think is very important. For most people, Tina Peters' story really starts back in 2021 with what has been called the trusted build by the Secretary of State in Colorado. There's a lot more to it, which I'll get into as time allows. But essentially, Tina Peters, who has now been in prison for over a year, she's been in prison since October 3rd, 2024, for doing her job. She was the clerk and recorder of Mesa County. What she did is make a backup of the Mesa County EMS. And this was a problem because essentially she disobeyed the orders of the Secretary of State in doing so. Now, I say that because it's important because there are distinctions regarding Tina's role and the reasoning for what she did, what she did in backing up those election records that is key to her prosecution, which was a targeted persecution. She's essentially been crucified because she is one of the few individuals in the entire country who had the nerve to back up election records that has now provided evidence, clear forensic evidence that the Dominion voting systems are not only uncertified, making the elections uncertifiable in the first place, but that there was actually fraud that was carried out and that the election machines were used to manipulate. Yes, sir.
A quick question. Now, my understanding, this is not to get you off course, but just because it's top of mind for me, that the Dominion company has now been purchased at a sort of sounds like a fire sale. And do you have any information about why that happened and what that's going to mean?
Well, I don't think it's random, certainly. I'm not going to speculate as to all the reasons, but I think it's very important that people know. Number one, there was a hearing just last week for Tina Peters' habeas case. And that is simply to have her out on bond at appeal. The fact that she is not is a travesty, but we can get more into that. In terms of Dominion, there were exhibits filed in Tina Peters' case that were whistleblower testimony from Smartmatic. These were officials from Venezuela. And this code essentially is what became, through a number of acquisitions, Dominion voting system. These two witness testimonies stated under oath that they were, the first one worked intimately with the engineering team for Smartmatic, and that the software was developed in order to steal and manipulate elections undetectably. The second whistleblower stated many things to the same, and that he worked directly with the Hugo Chavez regime, where he witnessed many of these things take place, and he witnessed the elections being stolen and spoke to some of the mechanisms that happened by. So the fact that Dominion voting systems, after the last several years, after these defamation suits levied against anyone in the media who had the nerve to speak out about Dominion and their role in elections, and the very clear and obvious problems that have been evidenced going all the way back to Antrim County, for example, where I believe it was 8,000 votes that were supposed to go to Biden versus 2,000 to Trump, when questions suddenly flipped and it was blamed on human error, as they have been, every time we have a problem with the machines all over the country for the last several years. Now that there's witness testimony stating specifically that some of these individuals who worked with the Venezuelan regime in Smartmatic also now work for Dominion and work in the United States, this being the entire crux of why Tina was prosecuted, because of the image that she made, which gave proof that Dominion was committing fraud. I don't think it's random that just now, all of a sudden, the company is being sold. And, of course, they also have many other things that are being litigated in the courts in other states regarding elections. But funny enough, they actually included a really nice name called Liberty Vote and a logo that looks oddly familiar to Tina Peters. There's a dark part of me that thinks they're actually just mocking her. But end all be all, whatever the money amount was, I think it's because they're going to try and dust off the Dominion idea, because so much has come out and they can't get away from the stigma. And they'll try to say that this is a new company and it's fix all the problems that we've had with the voting machines that have refused to be adjudicated by the courts so far.
And now you have taken over her program. Tell us about that.
Well, very simply, Tina Peters should be here having this interview with you, in fact. She should be running her own show. She should be hosting her own show. Tina Peters, as I stated earlier, has been in prison for a year. The reason for that is because while she was not charged while the media will say that she was charged for tampering with elections. It's not true. She was charged with counts of official misconduct, identity theft, impersonation, and things along those nature. Key witnesses in her trial were actually caught to be perjuring themselves and, in fact, exonerated her. Because, again, essentially what she did is she saw that there were problems going on. Her, as the clerk and recorder of Mesa County, she is obligated under state and federal law in that position to maintain election records. This is U.S. Code Title 52, Section 20701, and then 2 and 3, following those. But it is a crime for her to alter, tamper with, or for those records to be deleted. She sensed that there were problems going on with the equipment. She wanted to make sure that she was fulfilling her duty, her sworn duty as the clerk, to back up those election records. She asked, because the Secretary of State was pushing out a trusted build, which essentially was found because of her image to completely wipe all of the election records and the logs from the election. So, as a matter of fact, Tina Peters is the only clerk, apart from Dallas Schroeder, who then turned over his records to the Secretary of State. Tina Peters is the only clerk who is actually in accordance with federal law regarding the 2020 election, because she's the only one who preserved them, while everyone else had theirs wiped when the Secretary of State of Colorado, Jenna Griswold, and her office pushed through the trusted build. Now, she reached out to the Secretary of State to ask if these records would be preserved. They essentially told her to fly a kite. Mesa County said they didn't have the expertise to deal with it or to do a backup. So she went out under her authority, which is articulated in the Mesa County contract with Dominion. She stated that she would like help. She ended up bringing in an individual who performed the backup. And this later became the reason for her being persecuted. And they used all kinds of justifications to charge her with these various things so that they could make her an example. They could send a message to everyone else that if you dare question the integrity of these things that we're told are a gold standard, we will make your life hell. We will come after you. And they very carefully formatted it so that they didn't actually bring the concept of the Dominion validity and the accuracy of the machines into the courtroom, which is why Judge Barrett was very clear about it not being about it.
That is the sort of the foundation of lawfare, isn't it? You can figure out a way to get somebody without in any way getting at the actual substance of the case in question. You can figure out some way to get them convicted of something. It's much like going after Al Capone for tax evasion, right? Same kind of idea. You mentioned that the habeas request was particularly motivated or something. You just alluded to it. What happened there?
Well, the issue with the habeas, because it's a separate track, you have Tina's actual convictions in the state of Colorado, and then you have the habeas suit. The reason the habeas suit is necessary in the first place is because Tina was given consecutive sentences, completely inappropriate with the considerations for Colorado law and the things that will qualify you for bond. She's not a danger to the public and she's not a flight risk. Those are really the only two things. This is a white collar crime on trumped up charges anyways. But the judge, because he stated in his own words that she was a danger to the public because her platform allowed her to cause such loss of confidence in the systems of government and the elections, that she deserved to be in prison. He sentenced her to consecutive sentences and denied her bond on appeal because of her speech. Those are in the judge's own words. So the federal habeas track right now is simply to have her out on appeal while she's been sitting in prison for a year. And again, in the judge's own words, he set a precedent stating that if you have any platform that a member of the judiciary finds threatening to the political establishment, we can put you in prison, deny, and in fact, outright violate your First and in alignment with the hearing 8th, 9th, 14th Amendment, because we deem it so. It's a travesty. And so not only is Tina Peters a hero in terms of preserving election records and an example of federal lawfare, because this was directed and in concert with the Biden DOJ and FBI, he's also one of the preeminent constitutional examples of free speech that we have in this country right now.
So how old are you?
I'm 34.
You seem like a young man to be involved with this mess. How did you get involved with it? And have you always had your eye on these kinds of issues, or did you come upon it and couldn't look away kind of thing? What's your story with this?
Well, I was always a bit politically minded. Rather earlier in my life, I considered going to law school, which honestly have reconsidered after the last several years. But I was very minded in terms of corruption.
Do it. We need you.
On and on.
We the lawyers, we got to clean up the legal system, man. It is a mess.
Oh, it's bad. It's really bad. But I kind of focused on a few things back going before all the 2020 election things. I saw what was going on, a lot of lawfare. And I kind of got forced by my own conscience into getting involved in this in 2020 when I saw the Summer of Love and the George Floyd riots. So I saw a lot of people getting hurt, and I saw law enforcement being told to stand down while these organized groups were going around hurting people. So me being an older sibling, I have 5 younger siblings. I just had to look around and see what exactly am I going to leave for them to inherit if I don't do something. So I started tracking these groups and would infiltrate them to try and get pictures of leadership. And it led me kind of, round robin to being on the news and production side. And since then,
tell me a little more about that.
Away from.
Tell me a little more about that. So you embedded yourself in the Summer of Love stuff. Where were you? Where did you embed yourself? What did you find?
Well, this was in, we call it Antifa. We'll call it Antifa, though it's much larger than that. I was on the ground, so we had some teams of people infiltrating chats and tracking their movement online. And we had liaisons working with law enforcement. So what I would do is we would identify where they were staging in order to disrupt and cause the riots. And I would then, I would dress up and go into their groups, and I would try to get photos and identify those who were leadership so that we could send those to law enforcement. And it was then I saw very, very clear organized tactics that most people were either not paying attention to, or the groups on the ground were just not prepared to deal with. So I wanted people to be safe, and I tried to advise so that people could do that.
And so when you hear people now making claims that, Antifa doesn't exist, it's a talking point, how do you respond to that?
Well, the very premise is silly. I mean, I know they like to run the idea that it's just an idea, and in the ironic V for Vendetta kind of vein, you can't kill an idea. It's actually very true, because what we see now, a lot of these groups that are still operating, not all of them are paid. Not all of them are organized. A lot of them actually believe this because they've been indoctrinating our children since elementary and middle school through a lot of these programs talking about critical race theory and all these various things, where they've really convinced the youth, which are now the people who are, around my age, that what they live under is tyranny, and that, we have all these racial problems, and the entire country and system of law is corrupt. So it's actually kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. But in terms of these groups, not only are they organized, they're very well funded, but the problem is everyone likes to call them Antifa. There have been released videos of federal workers. This is where it gets into the ideology from every federal agency. There was another Greek, actually, Terpsehori Maris. He released videos showing these people all on camera organizing. These are people actively in the federal administrations, FDA, NIH, CDC, FBI, Justice Department. And these people are all on camera talking about how they plan and are actively working to disrupt, sabotage, and cause problems for the Trump administration while they are in these federal positions. And then you have these groups that are all organizing them and coaching them on the ideology and how they can use nonviolent noncompliance, is what they call it. And so we have a big problem because, when we talk about a lot of issues in the Trump administration, without being able to really see that, or not knowing that it's going on at that level, you can't really see this beast that is being waged within our own federal administration. So it's much bigger than Antifa. But the problem is we get caught up on labels. And really, we're in a civil war right now that is difficult to see if you're paying attention only to the small groups that like to wave a banner.
What would you recommend to help disrupt some of this? What is your what would you advocate? And are people listening to you? Both.
Well, I don't think it's so much about people listening to me. Number one, I think people need to pay attention to some of these federal officials. When things like that are reported, I was dismayed. I heard earlier you were talking about journalism, and I think that's probably the greatest need that this country has right now, because truthfully, in my opinion, they're few and far between, and people get caught up in self-preservation and ego and all kinds of things. But the mission really should be we have, as Tina's show is called, The Truth That Matters, and a country that will fall from within if we don't really focus on what the future of this nation is going to look like if the people are not able to hear true information and analyze it for themselves and understand really what is going on. So I think it's important that if you see some of these things, don't get caught up in thinking it's just Antifa. There's kind of a Orwellian saying, see something, say something. But just in Tina Peters' case, she did exactly that. She's paying the price. But the only reason is that more people haven't been speaking up. I mean, how many other clerks were there in this country? It's just Tina Peters that is currently being targeted this way. So it's the same thing with the rest of these groups.
I understand what you're saying. And so we have to kind of wrap up here. Do you have a call to action for people given what you're saying? Other than say something, is there a specific sort of call to action that you're advocating?
Well, I would ask people, pay attention because they're actively organizing online. Make sure that you find the actual videos that are out there. You can find them on my socials and elsewhere, but pay attention so you understand. Report some of these things to law enforcement. Not all of them are bad. It's easy to say that. But if that were true, we'd be in a much worse place. And when it comes to Tina Peters, she needs your help. She's been left on the wayside and thrown to the wolves. So you can follow the information in her case filings at tinapeters.us, but she also needs legal help. She's got a very long court process going on that's going to last probably another year, if not longer. Assuming even best case scenario that she's let out on her habeas suit in the next week or so, she still has that and she's bringing it by herself. So she needs your help. And if you could donate to help her legal defense, you can find that on tinapeters.us.
And then also follow Apollo Pappas on X. Apollo, thank you for coming by today. Appreciate it.
Thank you. God bless you.
And Caleb, what was that picture you were having alongside of Apollo there? Is that
so this is a
with
post.
The sort of, yeah, go ahead.
It was posted by Jack Posobiec. I'm going to try. Let me see if I can pull this back up real quick. But it's an image that he shows. I believe, if I remember correctly, if this is the same story, it was images that were inside an Antifa hideout that shows basically like a hit list. It's basically like all of the
interesting.
What it appears to be is it's all the journalists, like especially the conservative journalists that are in the area. They're trying to keep track of them, and it looks like a hit list. Like these are the people they go after. And these are the ones that get beaten.
And what Apollo was just saying is exactly what we heard from Paul Alexander 4 years ago, and you've been replaying on some of the intros to these episodes. It's like, we run things here. We're the ones of the bureaucrats. And we started talking about during COVID how bureaucracy, and the Jacobins, remember my preoccupation with the French Revolution and all, bureaucracy was the problem. And now it's self-evidently true that thing was going on. And as it's being torn apart, it's being exposed. And it's not going to go down, what was Robert Frost's way of saying it, gently into that good night. It's gonna be a struggle. So we must get back to the truth, as Apollo said. Let's put up the upcoming guests here. We have a show tomorrow at 2:00. Oh no, we don't have a show tomorrow because I'm getting surgery tomorrow. The next show will be Tuesday at 2:00. JP, Aaron Siri with Ryan Sickler, the great Ryan Sickler. There's the upcoming guest, Todd Rose, Salty Cracker on the 6th. I could give you specifics on everybody. I could try to do that if I have a second. Caleb, do you want to pull that up?
Yeah. Some details I know is that Aaron Siri is the attorney that's worked with, I believe, Children's Health Defense and is chasing some of these cases for people that were vaccine injured.
Yes,
he just had a hit piece run about him on the New York Times, which is a huge honor. I hope he printed and framed that. then Chanel Ryan.
It'll prove whatever they're attacking will prove to be true. They seem to be 100% at that. They claim misinformation for what ends up being true always. Ryan Sickler, in addition to being a great comedian, having a great podcast, he was attacked during the Summer of Love. He has a whole story that's just mind-boggling. Keep going. Who else we got?
Then we have Dr. Todd Rose that's coming up after on the 4th of November.
Yep.
And then we have Salty Cracker, of course. Everyone loves him. He's going to be here on November 6th. And we'll have a few other shows, I think, that might be added to the schedule between. So just keep checking drdrew.com.
And Chanel is somebody I recommended because I think I saw her on X or something, and there was something very interesting. She's a One American News host, investigative journalist. She had some interesting stuff up. We'll give you the details as the days approach. We appreciate you all being here. Thank you for joining us on the Restream. Let me look quickly at what you guys are talking there. Dylan Thomas. Yeah, I get Dylan Thomas, Robert Frost mixed up all the time. Was it Dylan Thomas that did Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night, or Robert Frost? And they could not be two more different guys. Frost was a professor ultimately at Amherst College, where I went to school. And Dylan Thomas died of alcoholism, I think in Ireland, if I remember right. I think that's true of Dylan Thomas. Let me look at your quote. Your Restream post here, see if there's anything anybody is interested in. And please, if I did not get that right about Dylan Thomas, please set me straight. Am I thinking about somebody else? All right. Hold on here. You guys aren't setting me straight. Maybe over on the Rumble Rants, somebody will know more than me. Yeah, it's a cancer. It's not a pre-cancer. I've got a cancer on my forehead. It's not a precancer. It's a full-on micronodular basal cell, which is a nasty kind of basal cell, and it has to be taken out completely, or it will recur and move around. Not distantly, but it tends to move around. All right, that will do it. You guys aren't up on your poets, your American and Irish poets. I think Dylan Thomas is Irish, right? Well,
I went
really
to
quickly. Do not
the 2 years I spent in college. I was trying to get a creative writing degree, and once it got to the poetry part, I was like, I think I'm out of here. I don't think I can do this. I don't think it's too short. I have to have long, lengthy, novel length stuff to get my thoughts out, and that was kind of downhill from there. And then I quit. Well, I got a book deal, so I quit because of that. But.
Looks like Dylan Thomas. I think it is Dylan Thomas. Dylan Thomas, and he died as they all in his 40s, or not even 40, like 39. And the question is, did he die of alcoholism? That's my really quick. Hold on, we got to do a little, a little liberal arts here. Good liberal arts. Thomas died of pneumonia. He was brought back to Wales and buried in a churchyard there. I could have sworn he drank himself. Pneumonia in a 39-year-old humbly is alcoholism or drug addiction. Let's died from effects of, come on. Died from the effects of smog. Give me a break. That is nonsense. That's so ridiculous.
Isn't that so crazy? That's where we are now, where we find sources and read it, and we're like, come on, that doesn't make any sense. It's like you can't trust anything anymore.
It's good. We're getting...
Yeah, it's like you have to have your spidey senses all the time, no matter how legitimate the outlet might be. It's like, something doesn't sound right about this. It's good.
That is good news. Yeah.
It's one of the good things about COVID is it really woke a lot of people up, including me. I question everything now.
Dylan Thomas, it says, died of alcoholism. So let's see if there's any other ones. Shane McGowan, Dylan Thomas, who I was thinking of. All right, we will leave it there, and I will see you all on Tuesday. I'll probably have a big pad or something on my head because they have to do their thing up there. But I will be here with you nevertheless. Tuesday, 2 o'clock Pacific time. We'll see you then. Ask Dr. Drew is produced by Caleb Nation and Susan Pinsky. As a reminder, the discussions here are not a substitute for medical care, diagnosis, or treatment. This show is intended for educational and informational purposes only. I am a licensed physician, but I am not a replacement for your personal doctor, and I am not practicing medicine here. Always remember that our understanding of medicine and science is constantly evolving. Though my opinion is based on the information that is available to me today, some of the contents of this show could be outdated in the future. Be sure to check with trusted resources in case any of the information has been updated since this was published. If you or someone you know is in immediate danger, don't call me, call 911. If you're feeling hopeless or suicidal, call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 800-273-8255. You can find more of my recommended organizations and helpful resources at drdrew.com/help.